What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. We're going to be breaking down who is actually the hottest team in the NFL right now. Means a lot for the Colts being put in that conversation right now. But, are the Colts truly the hottest team in the NFL? We're going to kind of break it down, kind of take a little bit more of a deeper dive into what we're seeing right now across the NFL. I'm Derek Larger, my guy Matt from Inside the Horseshoe Podcast joining me. How are you, my man?
I'm doing pretty good, just was watching a pretty boring Raiders-Browns game earlier, so thankfully you sent me a message say, hey, you want to do a video because I don't know how much longer I could have taken.
Yeah, I know, right? You're seeing a backup quarterback right now with and receivers dropping the ball everywhere. I mean, it's painful to watch, but Well, let's kind of dive into this, man, because that's been a lot of the big question, right? With the Colts, the way they've been playing. The Colts are now 8-6. Started the year out 1-4. Obviously, have won 7 of their last 9 games, and they've been playing some pretty good football, especially behind the coattails of a Jonathan Taylor. I would just say, in order to assess whether or not they're the hottest team, you kind of have to break it down into, is there another team that's performing very, very well right now? In your mind, what are a couple teams in the NFL right now that are really impressing you right now with what they're doing?
So I think one of them would have to be the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, they haven't really played the greatest of competition, but still, winning 6 in a row, that's not easy to do against anybody at all. Because, these are all professionals that can beat anybody any given day. So I think the Dolphins you have to throw in there because they were 1-7. Everybody counted them out, and then here they come, and they're right there in the playoff mix. So I would throw them in there, and then another team would be the 49ers. Feels like their defense is playing much better now. Jimmy Garoppolo in the last 8 games has had a 90 or above QBR rating. He's been playing really well. Deebo Samuel's playing really good too. Their running backs are all doing well. So, if it's not the Colts, I think 2 other teams you have to throw in there is the 49ers and then the Dolphins.
Okay. I would agree with what you said about the Dolphins and the fact that, they really haven't played anyone of significance other than the Baltimore Ravens back in early November. And even then, they didn't really blow them out. I mean, their best game in that 6-game stretch in which they've won was against the Panthers Thanksgiving weekend, where they won 33-10, right? So it's like their best scoring output over the last 6 games has been 33 points. They scored 31 against the Jets. They're definitely putting together some good games. You're right. Can't take away the fact that, winning 6 games, now they're still in contention to potentially get a wild card spot. Kudos to them, but, we'll find out more about them over these next 3 games because they're going to have to play the Saints, the Titans, and the Patriots all in a span of 3 weeks. We're going to find out more about this team come these next 3 weeks than what we do right now. Their defense has definitely stepped up. I mean, over the span of these last 6 games, they're giving up an average of about 12 points per game right now. So they're shutting teams down defensively. But, on the coattails of Tua Tagovailoa, do you actually trust that or not?
Yeah, he's looked good at times, but in the Jets game, just with a little bit I saw, Tua hasn't looked that great. But, they got a pretty good running back, with Gaskin there, and they got some other good pieces on offense that I think you can ride on. And I think they can beat the Saints. The Saints got a big win against the Bucs, but it helps when all their offensive weapons are out. I think they can beat them because it's still Taysom Hill at this point. I think Dolphins defense can shut them down. And then with Tennessee, they're kind of falling apart right now too. So I think they can win 2 out of their last 3 games. I don't see them beating the Patriots, but maybe the Titans and maybe the Saints.
We have seen crazier miracles happen, though. We have seen the Dolphins beat the Patriots in dramatic fashion over the last few years. So,
True.
Yeah, Dolphins definitely a team to consider. Me personally, I do not believe that they're one of the hottest teams. I know
Okay.
winning 6 games, but again, I don't trust that offense and what they're able to do right now. Still pretty suspect for me. I would agree with
Right.
you more on the 49ers. Very well coached. Defense, when it's healthy, they definitely can get to the quarterback. They're a physical team on the offensive line and the defensive line. So those guys, they dominate the trenches. And Garoppolo right now, he's not playing outstanding, but he's playing effective, and that's what you need him to do because the
Right.
49ers play a lot like what the Colts are wanting to do right now. Me personally, I thought of 3 teams that I think could actually contend with the Colts right now for being the hottest team in the NFL right now. One of them being, I'll tell you them, and then you'll see, and we'll kind of break it down each guy here, and then we'll
Yeah.
see what we think. First one being the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, so Dallas Cowboys, while they haven't always been the most effective team at a lot of different times, they are still 10-4. This
Right.
offense, they actually do have the most yards per game average of any team in the NFL right now with
Yeah.
403 yards per game on average. So we know, even with the offense having its few struggles every now and again, they can put up points and they can put up yards like it's
Yeah.
nobody's business. Now, I mean, to counteract that, a lot of those yards are not really contributing to points. I mean, you
Right.
look at the last 3 games and who they've been playing. They beat the Saints
Mhm.
early in December, scored 27, so that's not bad. You played against Washington, scored 27 on there, but you barely won that one out.
Yeah.
And then you beat the Giants just this last week, 21-6, who, by the way, were on their 3rd string quarterback. So, I mean, this defense also for the Cowboys, while it's not always been the most effective, it's truly been far from anything but good. I mean, it's been really well done. I mean, they take away the football pretty well. They thrive on big plays. We obviously know what Trayvon Diggs is doing right now.
Mhm.
I mean, he's a turnover machine. Duke can create a lot of turnovers right now. So, with this Cowboys team, they definitely can be the hottest team in the NFL when all things are hitting. My
Yeah.
only concern is I just don't think they are consistent enough either offensively to keep this up.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think they're consistent because at the start of the year, they were looking really good, and then they went downhill. Now they're starting to go up, but the competition hasn't been the greatest. But like, I don't know, I need to see them go up against a Green Bay or an Arizona, somebody like that, and beat them. And if they do that, then I can be like, okay, this team might be for real. But once we get to the playoffs, I don't really see them doing anything. I need to see them beat a better team before I can really say, okay, this team's legit. They're kind of pretenders for me still.
Yeah, I mean, the last really good team that they beat, and debatable on whether it's a really good team or not, that's the Saints.
Yeah,
I
true.
mean, they lost to the Raiders in overtime Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
They lost to the Chiefs 19-9 the week prior. So,
Yeah.
it's been a lot of flaws on that regard. I mean, when you think about it, would you definitively say that the Colts are a more hot team right now, despite a worse record, still a more hot team right now in the NFL than the Dallas Cowboys?
Absolutely. I definitely think they are. Just with the
Okay.
competition they played against, I think they've faced difficult or more difficult opponents than the Cowboys. And honestly, you put them on a field against each other right now, I think the Colts beat them.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I also believe in Frank Reich more than I
Yeah.
do in Mike McCarthy. I just
Hmm.
think Frank Reich, when you give him time, gets his team a little bit more prepared mentally and physically than what Mike McCarthy's does. So
Right.
I would agree with you on that. Another team that I brought up, and it's actually the team that now has the best record in the NFL, and that is the Green Bay Packers. Green
Yeah.
Bay Packers, while they haven't really, been super hot, from a perspective of, defensive wise. I mean, again, still one of the best records in the NFL. Beat the Bears a week ago,
Hmm.
scoring 45. Obviously, beat the Ravens 31-30 in a dramatic one yesterday. beat the Rams 36-28. I mean, no doubt that this Green Bay team can put up points behind Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, right now might be one of the forefront runners for the MVP once again because of what's going on with Packers. But I mean, I think the one thing that's interesting to me though is, I mean, you look at like their last. I mean, honestly, if you look at their last like 8 games, they really did not separate themselves from anyone. They beat these
Right.
teams, but they never quite put anyone away. They beat the Seahawks 17-0, but that's their widest margin of victory. Every other victory is pretty much 1 or 2 scores at the most. So, they're beating these teams, but they're not really putting anybody away.
Right. And like offensively, they're really good. Top offense in the NFL, one of the best that you can have. Their defense is what's going to hurt them if they're going to get eliminated from the playoffs, or if they lose any games from here on out. It's going to be that defense. I'm not impressed with them. They got some nice guys on the defense, but yeah, I mean, at this point, if the Packers are going to go to a Super Bowl and win it, they're going to have to score probably at least 30 points a game, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and it was different than what it was last year. Last year's Green Bay team, you had that really good defense, a top 10 defense, no question. And they were able to ride that along, and it masked some of the offensive inconsistencies that they had at times. And then when they finally faced a team in Tampa who could counteract that on both sides, they just didn't quite have the offensive firepower.
Definitely.
Okay, and this is the one team that if I'm going to pick a team over the Colts as the hottest team in the NFL right now, this is the one, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs right now, to me, they went from the first 4 weeks, everyone saying, my goodness, what the hell happened to the Kansas City Chiefs, to now winning 7 straight games in a row. They're 10-4. They lead the AFC now when it comes to they went from a what the heck happened to now being back to number 1, right back where they left off. And it took only just a matter of time for them to finally fix their issues, and mainly that was their defensive issues. And I'll just tell you right now, I mean, if you have questions about the Kansas City Chiefs, I'll just remind everybody, over the last 6 games, basically over the last 7 games, that the Kansas City Chiefs have been winning these games. 5 of those games, the Kansas City Chiefs had their best defensive outing. So really, over the last 7 weeks, they have really shored up their defense. They have done a fantastic job of starting to not give up as many big plays. They're making people have to game plan, and that on top of just how good they can be offensively. We obviously know the weapons they have, and you have to take that into account.
Definitely.
This makes me think that when this team's firing on all cylinders, right now might be the only team that could beat the Colts right now if you put those two together and then you had them at their peak right at the moment.
Right. Yeah, I have to agree with you. Their defense has been on fire lately. Hi, Cat. They've been playing really, really good defense lately. But I feel like I might be one of the few people that's going to say this. I'm not as worried about them because of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has been struggling. There's something going on with him. Now, he had that nice game-winning drive against the Chargers on Thursday, but, I mean, there's been multiple games where he had, like, 200 yards, no touchdowns, or 1 interception. Like, I think we're going to find out in the offseason that there was something wrong, similar to when Brady, they revealed that he tore his MCL or something like that. I think something like that's going to come out. Obviously, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but there's been some throws that have been surprisingly bad from him. Now, I don't think he's at the point to where that team will lose because of him, but there are some concerns, I think, with him, which is really weird. If that defense hasn't played as well as it has been, let's say they played pretty well, I honestly think Kansas City would have 2 additional losses
Well,
Like,
and you mentioned Patrick Mahomes not losing because of him, because of some of those throws. You play the Colts right now, you might
yeah,
do that. I mean,
true.
even the Patriots, because again, the Patriots and the Colts, they're the two best teams in the NFL when it comes to turnover differential. They do a great job of making teams pay off their own mistakes. It's been a
Right,
thing for them all year. So, a team like Kansas City, who this year has turned the ball over quite often on offense, that could come back to haunt them, despite the
right.
fact that their defense is playing the way that it is. I mean, offensively, it's kind of been the opposite of what the defense has been doing. Defense,
Mhm.
5 out of the last 7 weeks, has been really, really good. But ironically enough, over the last 7 games, only 4 times during those 7 games, or actually 4 of those 7 games, they've hit like almost lows on total yardage throughout the game when it comes to those teams. So
Right,
maybe that is because of the defense making plays, but ultimately, again, they were really on fire. They've had a couple of games recently where they've gotten a ton of yards, but really over the span of their first 7 games, they really did not, do a great job of getting yardage. And
true.
again, they still can't run the football. I mean, they can't
Yeah,
run the football. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, their leading rusher right now, and it doesn't even have 500 yards rushing. Not even
right.
500.
Mm,
I mean, Jonathan Taylor has 3 times the amount of rushing yards as Clyde Edwards-Helaire this
right.
season. And that's insane. I know Hilaire's had some time that he's missed. I know that
Mhm.
and obviously the Kansas City Chiefs offense does not run through the running back. Of course it
Right.
doesn't. But yeah, I mean, when you look at it, they are still having issues with balancing their offense a little bit. But then again, you could also, if you're not looking at it from a Colts perspective, you could look at it the same way as the Colts.
Mhm.
They're running the football very, very well. When a defense does eventually stop the run at some point, what do you rely on Carson Wentz to do it? Now, me
Right,
personally, I find comfort in having Carson Wentz right now. I don't believe that he's as bad as some people make him out to be,
right.
but I do have faith that if you need him to make a couple throws to be able to get you down the field, I have seen him do it time and time again this year to make me think, okay, you're not going to lose us the game. He might not win us the game, but he'll definitely not lose it for us
Mhm.
on several occasions. So, it's kind of a balancing act there too for the Colts. So when you're looking at Kansas City and when you're looking at the Colts right now, I think you and I both agree, based on your reaction, I think you and I both agree these two teams at the moment are the hottest teams in the
Yeah.
NFL, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, with how both of these teams are playing, who do you think is actually the hottest at the moment?
Um, I'll go slightly Colts. I feel like everything that was going wrong is going right now. The
Mhm.
secondary is getting better. The defensive line is getting more pressure and is playing better. Linebackers consistently have been playing really good football, and then offensively, offensive line is fixed all the issues. Yeah, Eric Fisher has some problems still. We'll see if that gets fixed, but like everything feels like it's clicking right now for the Colts with the Chiefs. Like I said, there's some problems on the offensive side of things. I don't think that makes them a bad team. I don't think, you know, Patrick Mahomes is a bad quarterback, but he has been struggling. I think there's something wrong. He might have tore something and he's just playing through it because there were some throws where they're like, the guy's maybe a yard beyond, where the line of scrimmage is and it's still short. So there's something, and I think we'll find out later.
I think it's telling that I look at it from just the perspective of their offense. They only one game this year did they rush for 200 yards in one game this year. I think the Colts have done it at least 5 times. Uh, at least five. I'm pretty positive it might actually be more than that. But yeah, it's crazy because again, like you said, the passing and the rushing differential in their teams is
Mhm.
different. You look at it, Kansas City has the ability to hit a home run ball so much easier than a lot of other teams do in the NFL. But at the same time, the Colts also have that ability to hit that home run while also dominating the time of possession in the way that they do it, which I think, like, if you asked me that, like, when Jonathan Taylor first started doing what he's doing, I maybe wouldn't have said that. But the way the Colts are doing it now, it just feels different. Like, it's taken up a notch. Like, it was that way before, but now it feels like the Colts are even more in fine tune of what their offense needs to be right now.
Yeah.
So, and especially on special teams, we're seeing the Colts special teams winning them games now. I mean, now granted, it almost cost us Saturday as well. Bagley definitely did not have a good game Saturday. Don't know what happened there, but Frank Reich said he's not worried about it. They'll get him fixed. And, of course, Matt Adams with another block punt, and then E.J. Speed with his second block touchdown of the year. So, this Colts team right now is just playing at a aggressiveness that I just absolutely love.
Yeah.
Me personally, I cannot honestly not put either one of these teams above the other. I think explosiveness, what you get in Kansas City is just unmatched. But at the same time, when I look at like consistency and energy, the way the Colts are playing, I think right now that puts them neck and neck. I can't really pick either one of these teams as the hottest, but I think I would agree Kansas City and Indianapolis, nobody wants to play these two teams right now.
Definitely. Like, I can honestly see that, I guess, depending on where the Colts land in the wild card. I'm thinking, assuming they don't win the division, which, I guess we'll find out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. We'll know,
I think they're going to win out. I think they're going to finish at number 5, and I could see Kansas City and Indianapolis facing off in the AFC Championship just because, Kansas City's defense is playing lights out right now. I don't really see that stopping anytime soon. But in my opinion, I think what's going to give the other the edge is the offense. And I actually think the Colts offense is more trustworthy right now just because of how Jonathan Taylor is playing. I think you can run with him on that Kansas City defense. And, like I said, there's something with Patrick Mahomes. I still think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, I would take him over Wentz. I think anybody would. But I think we're going to find out he tore something or he, there's something going on with him. But, they have the firepower. I think the Colts secondary is getting to a point where they can at least compete with Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, the corners right now for the Colts, I mean, it's been phenomenal to watch them work. The only thing that scares me again is Travis Kelce in the middle. That's what scares the living hell out of me right now.
That is true.
I mean, the one good thing that the Colts would have going for them when it comes to the Kansas City defense is that in almost half the games this year, they have given up 120-plus rushing yards in 6 of their 14 games. Actually, in 4 games this season, have given up 150-plus. The one time, they gave up their third game against Baltimore, gave up 250 to the Baltimore Ravens. So, again, what this Colts team is able to do offensively running the football, I mean, you can be a really, really good defense. But, I mean, even we saw against Tampa Bay, even though the Colts got away from it, the few times that Jonathan Taylor did run the football, especially in that fourth quarter, I mean, you showed they were able to still get some yardage out of it. And obviously what they did against Buffalo, that can't be understated as well. So, these two teams, I mean, I would love to see these two teams match up in the playoffs. I think it would be a whole heck of a lot of fun. I think it'd be great to see Mahomes versus Wentz and see Jonathan Taylor versus that Kansas City defense, see if they could mix something up. Because honestly, I know their defense has been good, but I still think the Colts would have the advantage on Kansas City, just the way they bull rush people.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I would love to see like Chris Jones and Melvin Ingram go up against that Colts offensive line too. That would be a fun matchup to watch. I think the Colts offensive line would win that matchup personally. They're playing unbelievable right now, and like the defense, the defense is playing so good. 7 out of the last 8 quarters, they've allowed no points. Now, the fourth quarter got messy. I
Right.
was getting worried.
I
I saw
was.
somebody describe the fourth quarters for Colts fans as PTSD because of
Yeah.
how the year has gone. I was like, yeah, I agree with that. But I think they showed they can finish games. They know what they
Now,
need to do, and
I think other things that I would mention here for a couple reasons why we didn't pick some other teams. Me personally, why I think I didn't pick a team like the Patriots is,
yeah,
again, they just got beat by the Colts, and they
yeah,
showed you exactly why it is that they're not the hottest team, because right now it showed you they're when you take away their ability to run the football, you
mhm,
have to rely on Mac Jones in order to be able to do that. And
yeah,
can you rely on Mac Jones to win you every single one of those games going forward? That's still yet to be determined.
right,
Arizona, one of the best records in the NFL, but they just got beat by the freaking Lions.
yeah,
And they didn't just get beat by them, they got destroyed by them.
yeah.
So, and
Shout out to
I know they
Jacksonville.
lost D Hop. I know they lost D Hop,
Yeah,
but the Cardinals had no business losing that football game. They
yeah,
had no business losing that football game, but they did anyway.
yeah,
And, I think another reason why, again, Tampa Bay, why I wouldn't put them as the hottest team is, again, they've shown several times that they're fairly beatable. The
yeah,
Colts should have beaten them, but obviously they beat
yeah.
themselves. And
Hmm.
if that game last night was any indication that apparently
Yeah,
Brady needs a lot more help, because he loses a bunch of his guys, and apparently their
mhm,
offense is just trash afterwards.
yeah.
So
They're not gonna have Godwin too for the rest of the year because
yeah,
he's out.
no, Godwin's gone. That sucks. That
Yeah,
sucks. Best slot receiver in the game right now. So
yep,
that's rough. And who knows what's up with Evans? And then you lose Fournette in the middle of the
mhm.
game too. I mean, he was losing
It's
everybody.
rough. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I think the happiest team after Sunday is Jacksonville because they were eliminated from the playoffs, I think, a week ago. Now they're on track to get the number 1 pick because Detroit won.
Yeah,
So
it's
they're
about
happy.
hilarious. You get the number one draft pick this last year, Trevor Lawrence, and yet you're still going to have the number one draft pick
Yeah.
most likely going forward.
That
Think about
defensive line
that
is
for a
going to
hot
become good.
second. If that doesn't explain how hot garbage the Jacksonville Jaguars are as a team, I
Yeah.
don't know what else does. But
But now they can add to that defense. So, like, that defense can be a lot better now, whether they go secondary or they go defensive line. There's a
yeah,
lot of
true.
pieces there.
Yep, very true. All right, Colts Nation, that's going to do it for this video. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know if there's a team that we missed that should have made this list. Let us know what you think. Do you think the Colts are the hottest team in the NFL, or do you think it is somebody else? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.